revenue off of that. So it aligns us on adding to it all the time. Then knowledge graph is all the different things that you're good at. Yeah,
Okay.
but not just like a guy. We'll find the right contract. Nobody actually has that contract with the brew in it, right? It's your similar better. That's what it's called.
Yeah, they have access to one of the largest kind of legal data sets in the world too. I don't know if you know Thomson Reuters. LexisNexis is they're both competing for the same kind of consumer space, right? For lawyers, right? Essentially doing kind of case law and analysis. Pretty interesting work. So, are you working right now, or kind of? Oh, okay, yeah. So that's it. Are you applying AI in your kind of current? Oh, okay, really? Okay, awesome. So you're building this stuff. Oh, really? Okay. Are you using LLMs in-house or kind of just, okay. Yeah. So in terms of kind of, you're not building your own transformers or anything, are you? Okay. You're using off-the-shelf Hugging Face kind of. Right. Microsoft, right. I know, right. Same thing.
Our platform.
I don't know. I'm Steve Mitchell. We might have met before. Have you been part of Justin Grahman's event?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's where I recognize you.
Yeah, I was at the Applied AI conference. Can I give you a flyer?
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, you can throw it away if you want. Give it on it on someone else.
I'll put it on the fridge. How about that?
Oh, fair enough. It's a free event. In beta, so it's, donations are not required. And my little company is sponsoring, so there'll be food and drink. So I put them out, and then I realized I was trying to make this a little humble, it was a little bit small, and I found like that. So,
Oh, yeah, I'll make a break there.
Do you have a brother printer at home?
What?
Is it a laser printer at home?
It's I was looking at the person,
Oh, okay.
and they have free break. So I am taking advantage. I was just like in my day job in meetings, like cutting out these flyers, and yeah. I don't know.
Kind of old school, right?
Oh, very old school. Yeah, I just went with the flyers there, and I was just like, I go to a bunch of events, so I'm just like, here's a flyer, and I feel a little obnoxious, but
So free printing, but no free paper cutter.
no free paper cutter.
Okay,
That would be the winner.
Gotta put a 1-star review on Yelp.
I really like
Maybe you can get it origami or just something creative too.
yeah. Actually,
So you put it on this side, because when we shake hands, so we're on this side.
Oh, okay. So
This side, I'm having to look across.
wrong side.
You're doing the right thing.
you want to do name tag? I'll put that away. I think you're more famous than I am.
So,
What do you do?
I work with small consulting agencies. We're involved with AI and like something
Oh, big company.
yeah, enterprise.
I am
What do you do?
exclusively startup.
Oh, are you really? Okay.
Yeah, since I lived in Kenya for years,
Oh, wow.
and I was really impressed with a lot of the software engineers there. Not all of them, but I'm not impressed with all American software engineers either. So, what to do? Yeah, sorry.
Well, yeah, it would be nice to chat and get to this point. So I'll make a break to come to your beta event.
Yeah, otherwise, you can find some solutions or I can write them. Yeah, anyways,
So your company's pretty big, though. It's kind of enterprise. Yeah. I know, right? So, exactly. So, I'll send you a LinkedIn invite too. Appreciate the conversation.
Welcome to Wild AI. This is our Sandy, our last one. We have 4 amazing speakers tonight. We forward to hearing what they're building and sharing their stories. If you're new here, please be sure to register. Register. Let you know ahead of time any unique things we want to offer on our website. Some other benefits. Additionally, you're going to hear 4 speakers, but in the next coming months, there is some availability for other speakers. I want to discuss solely about good, maybe some things you want to ask. Feel free to scan the QR code here and submit a form. See, it's very, very relaxed. We do not have any slides or sell what they're trying to do. It's the whole community of what they're building. That's it. Here, Philip. Sorry. Oh.
All right. Hey, everybody. First of all, thank you for your kind words. It's my first time here. Can you guys hear me, everybody? Thank you to Anishka for reaching out to me, offering the speaking position. She's here today. She's in Chicago, I've heard, but been very welcoming. Y'all have been very welcoming. Thank you. You guys are great. My name is Phil. I work at a company called Meetup based in New Jersey. To know why, but you can talk later. Just come and ask me. It's a long story. My wife is a psychologist. She studied in Baltimore. Baltimore is not New Jersey. So you can ask me about that later. So I was driving here today, and I'm like, how am I going to try this on some people know about this AI products more than I did. So I wasn't even going to try, and I was just going to chug beer and come up here and just start talking about some stuff. So, what have I been working on? Like I said, I work at Witham in New Jersey. I'm a consultant, a software consultant. So, my company delivers software and cloud solutions for clients. I'm more on the software side. I have a passion for DevOps, actually. I don't know, my brain is wired in a strange way, and I have a lot of fun doing that kind of thing. With AI disrupts everything with software, right? You guys, if there's any programs here, obviously it disrupts every industry, but in particular, writing anything, including software, has been disrupted. I see it personally as an accelerator. We've been using it, we've seen it since 2022, 2023, ChatGPT, LLMs, before that machine learning, et cetera, but LLMs really are what kicked off writing code. What have we been working on? For clients, last year, I worked with a product called Sweet Agent. Is anybody familiar with software engineer bench? This guy here, you. So Sweet Bench is what a software engineer bench is, a benchmarking tool, I believe, by Princeton. Princeton, anybody? I think they publish it, right? They write some open source software, which will actually run programming challenges with different models, different industry models, and will post the results on the website. So in order to do that, they use a tool called Sweet Agent. Sweet Agent was one of the first times I'd been exposed to agentic development, which is you tell the bot to do something, it rolls with it, writes code, it creates files, does all its thing. You walk away and go get coffee, come back and see what it did later, and hopefully it didn't format your drive. So Sweet Agent, it's open source. We downloaded that. Basically, we took our Jira stories, fed it into Sweet Agent with some modification, and then Sweet Agent would open a PR, right, based on our code base and what was in the Jira story. Best case scenario, that would be like a maybe 10% boost to the developers, 20%. They'd be able to get in there and be like, okay, I see what they're going with here, and use your Copilot or whatever, and roll with it. Worst case scenario was just a throwaway, right? We had mixed success with that. So we've moved on from that because I mean there's so many agents now. Claude Code, Gemini, CLI, Codex. You guys have probably all used these, or we can talk about it later if you want to have questions. Sweet Agent was very cool at its time, but really the agents, you can download them, they're free. 5 minutes, you can have Gemini set up as an agent. Speaking of agents, I still meet with clients who are copying and pasting their code into a web browser to help them write code, right? This happens all the time. Just last week, I was like, what is your workflow? It's like, well, here's a module, like, I need to refactor it, so I copy it into ChatGPT and it refactors it, I paste it back in. My goodness. If you take one thing away from my talk today, if that sounds familiar to the workflow you're using, take 5 minutes and install Gemini CLI, and you're going to see amazing results almost right away. Okay, anyway, a couple minutes left. My company built a tool called Servo. It doesn't do anything with AI specifically other than act as a proxy for these AI tools to route models through. So specifically, a lot of our cloud customers have security and privacy concerns. They run their models with Bedrock, or AWS Bedrock, or Azure AI Foundry, or whatever it's called. So this Servo tool routes your AI tools through a central location and then gives you a model that's hosted privately. And you can use that Servo tool to generate statistics about who's using the tools. What is the success rate? What kind of PRs are being merged, or how much code is being accepted? That's another tool that we built. Finally, we've been doing a lot of work with GitHub Spec Kit. Has anybody heard of Spec Kit? GitHub Spec Kit. Somebody over here was like, yeah. All right, so this is a tool. That's great. All right, so this is new to everybody. This is a tool that was released in September of this year from Microsoft. And what it is it helps you it's a set of prompts that are loaded into your code repository. And it's like a white glove, almost like a wizard to writing your code. So you say, okay, I want to generate a constitution for my code base, which is like the general overarching themes of your code base. What is it doing? What's it supposed to do? Does it need unit tests, et cetera, et cetera. And then it's going to say, okay, what is your specification? You write a couple sentences. It asks you back and forth, what are the edge cases? It goes through all this stuff, documents it right there in source control. Once you have the specification, guys, the code can be written in any language. It can be refactored, redone. It's an amazing tool. GitHub Spec Kit. Check it out. We're doing it for our clients and internally. Lastly, I just want to say thank you, and thank you for being so welcoming.
Does anyone have 2 questions as well? Okay.
We're hiring software developers, AI software developers. Thank you.
Also, if you want to connect and you didn't see them today, as the speakers come up, the QR code will go to their LinkedIn for you to connect there if you haven't scanned already. And next up is Ross.
Well, the first thing I would say, the first thing I would say is, no, Jake did not ask his grandpa to come speak to Wild AI tonight. I'm Ross. Ross Graber from Goldie Technologies, and when Jake asked me to speak, he said, you've got an interesting history of technology, and what you're doing with AI now, I think, is relevant for this group. So basically what Goldview Technologies is about is for over 10 years, we've been a software development, solution-based company that focuses on clients and use cases and business challenges. And so what does that mean with AI? Well, for the last 18 months, all we've been hearing about is, what about this AI? And this community, you guys, every time I come here, you guys are very connected to what you can do with the technology, what you guys can do with the capabilities. Technology advances, what are the problems you can solve? I can tell you there's a whole other world out there from the business community, from startups to multi-billion-dollar enterprises that are really struggling with, what do I do with this AI? How do I generate value? How do I create solutions that are going to give a return on investment? Well, what Goldview does today, quite frankly, is we spend a lot of time talking to businesses about how do you envision the future of your business? These are the kinds of things that AI can do for you. We are a technology company, but we spend very little time talking about tech for quite a while. We spend an awful lot of time talking about what really drives value in your business and what drives differentiation. And really, when I talk to all of you, you guys are brilliant. I'm astounded at what you guys are able to do with the technology. And quite frankly, I'm envious. And looking at the gray hair, I wish like hell we would have had the compute power that you guys have access to today back in the 80s when I was doing defense work on the F-16. We were constantly challenged with compute power, doing machine learning or pattern recognition or image recognition, trying to do terrain following radar. I mean, for crying out loud, I was just telling a story about the fact that I was doing assembler programming, of all things, because we needed to move information really fast across a very small interface to solve a problem. And one of the things that AI, from my perspective, that is the most powerful is the compute power you guys have access to. And with all the positives, the negative is the fact that you take it for granted, that compute power, and you don't get back to the fundamentals. What am I really trying to solve here, and how do I really generate value? I talk to business leaders, CEOs, executives, financial types every day, and these guys talk about, what the hell is this going to do for us? How am I going to generate value? How am I going to generate a return that drives my business? The other thing I hear from these guys, quite frankly, I'm talking to you because I'm worried about what the other guy is doing. What is he going to do to completely reinvent his business such that I'm irrelevant? That's the opportunity, but that's also the challenge. When you guys are, I love coming to this group because I talk to brilliant people here that have brilliant ideas on how to use AI. And when Jake talked to me 6 months ago, he said, I'd love to have you come up here and talk to this community about this, because, and he's right, this is a brilliant group of people. But what you've got to be able to do is you've got to translate into, how does this help a company disrupt their marketplace? Or how does this help the company transform their marketplace? I was just talking to a gentleman tonight who talked about the fact that he is going to be a critical piece of the challenge of memory with these AI systems. And so when you think about what you guys are doing, and almost all of you are either in a project, you're working on a project, the software project you just talked about, the whole idea behind that is, what am I going to do to either transform, disrupt, or generate tremendous value? That's what we do. Quite frankly, a lot of what we do today, I mean, yeah, we've done some cool things. I mean, we built the smart home interface for Marvin Windows, for all their smart windows. Our company did that. We did a lot of software development, doing adjudication engines for both for claims as well as for pre-authorization. And what we're doing today is we're doing a lot of work in the defense industry about how do I create intelligence for autonomous weapons systems. Much what I can't talk about, but the premise is we're using the intelligence that it gathers around the environment to drive capabilities such that I can make good decisions so a human doesn't have to do that and they can do higher value things. So basically that's what GoView technology is. Any questions from the audience? Go ahead.
How do you reduce risk?
How do I reduce risk? Well, quite frankly, one of the things I was blessed with is my first engineering manager out of college was an Apollo rocket engineer. And what he told me is he said, you are in the business of making mistakes. And I would say that amongst all of you in this room, you guys are all in the business of making mistakes. How you manage risk, quite frankly, is recognizing you're going to make mistakes. Okay, what can I learn from this? And because of what I've learned, how much better am I at solving the problem tomorrow than I am today? We are not in a fault-tolerant culture, unfortunately. We make too many criticisms of mistakes that are legitimate mistakes because I'm trying to push the envelope with the premise that at the end of the day, that's how we learn. That's how we advance. My boss, when I first came out of college, said we had no friggin' idea how we were going to put a man on the moon to lift 7 million pounds off the ground with an Apollo rocket. We had no idea. Just kind of made it up as we went along. Obviously, a lot of solid engineering, but at the end of the day, we were not afraid to make mistakes. But a cardinal rule that we followed every day is when we make a mistake, we're going to learn from it. We're going to apply the lessons learned from that mistake, and we're going to go back at it tomorrow with the idea we've learned something, and we're moving the ball forward in innovation. So, how do we manage risk? Quite frankly, you acknowledge that, hey, if we're really going to move and disrupt and innovate, we're going to make mistakes. But I'm going to build an organization and I'm going to build a culture around when I make a mistake. We're going to acknowledge it. We're going to accept it. We're going to learn from it. And then we're going to do something different tomorrow to take advantage of what we learned. Any other questions? I'm sorry, I talked way too long. So.
Thank you, Russ. Next up is St. Thomas student Zin.
Thank you. Hi everybody, my name is Zin. I am a senior studying computer science at the University of St. Thomas. And today I just mainly want to talk about two things. First of all, for those who are not aware, recently since the beginning of the semester, me and 8 other friends started the AI club at St. Thomas called Nexus. After a survey that we sent out to students where 50% of the students were completely against the use of AI and they were like, no, we don't like AI, we hate AI. And 50% of the students were for AI and like they were, passionate and they were optimistic about the future of AI. And we just felt like there was, there should be a student space where students should be educated on this technology since it's being used by all majors and people in every industry, right? So this is the reason why we started Nexus, the AI club at the school. And our goal right now is to host a hackathon for Minnesotans in general. Because one thing I've noticed so far is like there are hubs of tech in both Bay Area, New York, and California and San Francisco, in those areas, like Caltech, MIT. But however, in the Midwest, for those who want to build something and compete and be creative, there's no one space that everybody can go to. So which is why partnering with St. Thomas, we're trying to create a hackathon in Minnesota where a lot of students can come and build, not just students. But for the first hackathon, that's going to happen on February 20. And in that hackathon, we're trying to host university students and high school students to come build something for nonprofits. So my request for you guys from this speech is I just want to let you guys know, if you guys know any nonprofit businesses who might benefit from this, who might want to participate, or who might even want to donate or something like that, please reach out to me and connect with me because we're trying to get the ball rolling on this hackathon. And secondly, the thing that I want to talk about is this is a project of mine that I've been building. So as a student, as the semester is wrapping up, we're getting a lot of surveys from teachers asking us to rate the events, rate their classes. And asking every student, nobody really wants to fill out surveys. So I built a project which is a voice AI, which you can just send like a survey, which you can send a link to anybody like a survey, and you can program the agent to ask a certain question. So your user can have a conversation instead of filling out a boring form. Right now I'm partnering with school to kind of test it out. Test it out with people who do a lot of feedback at the school. So if you are gathering any feedback, if you do a lot of talking to people and reaching out to people, and if you're interested in using a tool like this, please reach out to us. We're trying to understand how people might use this and just get more feedback about this tool. So thank you so much. That's all I have to say. Any questions? Okay, sounds good. Questions? What's up? Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Oh, hi.
If you like question, are you optimistic about AI now? Do you feel like it's really productive to be a little bit more positive than it was last time?
I think yes, because I feel like a lot of the students, first of all, they don't have time to kind of look into. It's only like some people, like for example, computer science majors, or those who are truly passionate and tapped in with technology, who are like really learning about AI. If not, most people are just hearing from the news that hey, AI is taking their jobs, AI is doing this, that, and they just have this negative connotation around it. So, like from the clubs, we've gotten a lot of like positive feedback because our club is open to all majors, and we have people like entrepreneurship majors and business majors coming in and building websites with us, and they're just having a great time. So I think like, as we continue like doing more events and like teaching people about what AI can actually do, like students, then I think the sentiment is going to get more positive. And I think like learning about these AI tools and knowing about these technologies will only benefit them in their work field. You'll be tapped in with how your field is going to change. And when you graduate, you're going to be equipped with the relevant skills to kind of graduate with and be more productive. So I think it's going to change it. It's going to change on the positive side. I'm optimistic at least. Yes.
What are you looking for to help, like St. Thomas? Are you looking for small businesses? Are you looking for nonprofits?
Yes, we're mainly for the hackathon. We're mainly looking for nonprofits right now. An ideal situation we're thinking about is like a library that has some really old technology that maybe they could get some help with something new. So those are kind of things that like maybe mom and pop stores, something like that. So like.
What about sponsors?
Yeah, we're also looking for sponsors. More money better, right?
What do you think young people who are trying to get in, they're in front of an AI screen, you're talking about voice activated, what are people's affinity for sharing with AI right now? Because I feel people are reticent to talk to it.
Yes.
Even though not people want it,
Right.
but they don't feel comfortable.
So one thing that from the trials that we've done so far, students are way more like willing to give more data when they start talking. When they're filling out a form, you only know what you want to know, and you don't know like the unknown, right? But with this tool, what we have realized is when we ask students about, I recently ran a survey where we were asking students what they think about St. Thomas, and when the survey starts, they just start talking. They say, hey, like, what do you think about St. Thomas? And they just start talking, oh, I like this, that, and we can just program the agent to say, hey, tell me more about that, and then they just go on and start talking. And yeah, like we've noticed that we get more data per time using this voice AI, but one thing that we've noticed is that students are kind of hesitant. They're like, this technology is so new to them that like they feel overwhelmed. Like they quit the survey a lot, like on the first 5 seconds hearing the agent talk. So that's something that maybe I gotta change from the UI, like make the UI more friendly. And right now I have like an orb that's like moving as the agent speaks, so maybe that's a little bit overwhelming. So yeah, it's scary. Thank you so much. Any other questions? No.
Thank you, Zim. And our final speaker. Welcome, Clinton.
Hey everyone, I'm Clinton Coudhart. I'm a software engineer, I work in data strategy at Xcel Energy here in town. So Xcel Energy, big company. We do a lot of infrastructure, and I think my guiding motivation is systems. How do we make human systems work better? Because that's what we're talking about here, right? AI, it's tech, it's hot, it's flashy, but it's human systems, it's knowledge. It's how do we use knowledge to solve human problems? And in the energy space, that's more necessary than ever. We have unprecedented grid demand. We have to grow our ability to generate, distribute energy. Decarbonization, we have to get off coal, get off carbon sources, go to clean energy. That needs to happen now. And if our systems aren't prepared to be able to make that transition, if we're getting bogged down by human change management, by people processes, that's what's going to kill us. It's not the tech. It's not even economics at this point. Solar is cheaper than most other energy sources. It's how do we actually see this thing come into life. So that's what we're figuring out here at Excel. How do you accelerate systemic transformation through AI? That's what I'm helping to, in a part, deal with at Excel. I'm a software developer, as I said, software engineer as a background. And so what that means to me on a day-to-day basis is stuff like Claude Code. But it's not just writing apps in Claude Code, which we've done plenty of, but you can imagine when we're dealing with critical infrastructure, like the grid, you can't just vibe code it, you can't just throw vibe coded actions into apps into production. That's not going to fly. So how do we set up the governance infrastructure to be able to adequately, not only ensure security, ensure the stability of production systems, but also how do you make sure it's actually useful? Like one thing I talk about a lot is AI agents. They're like, if you have like 30, 40 years of experience in software engineering, right? You know what software engineering is. You know the best practices, what you're supposed to do, but you don't know how it works here. You don't know how my company works. And that's a hard problem to solve, right? I mean, you can build RAG agents, you can expose, data to AI, but until you have an organization that's aligned behind your architecture practices, your ways of doing things, your documentation that's sitting in a Confluence that's been there for 5 years and the original author left 3 years ago. I mean, I'm sure these are problems that you all face. How do you get the organization aligned so that AI or not, AI could not be part of it, and you'd still be maturing your organization to the point where you're not relying on stuff that happens to be floating in that one person's head. I mean, how many meetings have we been on where a production system goes down and you're like, who is responsible for this? Who's in charge? And then one person happens to join and they're like, hey, I should have been pulled in earlier, and it's like the third ping out. It's like, how are the human systems that are powering our world, that are responsible for climate change, that are responsible for your bill at the end of the month, like how are those not scalable to this degree? And the answer to that question is also the answer to how we enable AI in organizations, is changing organizations so that the data is understandable, so that the knowledge is there. And then you start to get this layer on top of it, right? Then you can start talking about how do we get MCP in there? How do we get data products aligned such that AI can introspect that? Instead, now, my job is not, I have to remember 15 different projects I worked on 5 years ago and just happened to be in the room at the right time. It's, how do I think? How do I be a human? How do I create? How do I talk with people? How do I communicate? Like, those are the skills that will drive digital transformation, human systems transformation. As an engineer, it's kind of threatening, right? A lot of us have jobs because we happen to know some esoteric programming language, because we know some API contract that we're the only person there for it. And if that's your entire leverage, watch out, because that won't be good enough in the future. But what will be good enough is people who can think, who can problem solve, who can understand what is the business value, what am I trying to do here at my company, and how do I make an impact there. So if you're interested in talking about knowledge systems, if you're interested in talking about human systems, data transformation, digital transformation, how to make AI work at Fortune 500, billion-dollar scale companies where change management is the continual blocker, I'd love to talk more. So yeah, thank you all. Appreciate it. Any questions?
quick question here. So you talked a lot about socio-technical systems kind of being the key to unlocking a lot of the change. I know you can't really encapsulate that right now in a sentence or two, but maybe give us some direction, point us in the right way of how to solve some of those big problems.
Yeah, it starts with architecture. You have to take data and knowledge, really. We're talking about knowledge here. You have to take it out of not only the brain, but also out of some malformed Confluence document that hasn't been updated in a while, right? You have to start getting that in. And our approach is starting to kind of create this semantic knowledge graph. How do you relate data? Not only through, well formatted data, like structured data, everyone talks about that. But then how do you relate that? How do you start to create an ecosystem of data that it's not just some API contract living out in the ether, but it's saying that this system connects to that system. That if the AI tool wants to go build authorization in your app, it's not it's not downloading some auth library to go reinvent, Passport over again in your app because that's what it just knows authorization means. It's saying that, at Excel Energy, our authorization infrastructure uses this, and that. We're OIDC compliant. We integrate with this system. This is the APIs that I have available. And you've documented that not only so developers can go look at that, but if I'm a new person at Excel, I can go, see exactly what systems I'm supposed to integrate with, who is responsible for those. But then AI systems can start to be really truly agentic, that they're not hallucinating whole new gaps in your knowledge, but they're actually connecting to what you have. It's that organizational context, building out in data, that's the key. Anything else?
Yeah, how do you get that structured data in the first place? Like, you said weird influence documents that haven't been updated in 3 years. Like, how do you change that into structured data?
Yeah. So, and this is why it's an organizational transformation. It's not just, I would, if anyone of you have a startup idea for how to just do that carte blanche, I think you'll make $1 billion, but that's, we're not there yet. So, I think it's convenient to be situated within a tech services organization because you can start with technical processes, right? If I'm talking about agentic applications that are developing, tech service or technically, grounded products, right? You already have things like API documentation. So if the Confluence doc is not just someone brain dumping, but is actually some API docs, how do I turn that into Swagger? How do I get that in some introspectable document source? So it does take that architecture knowledge. It shifts the architecture from being just pure rote workers to being like, how do I create systems that are introspectable? So I'm building Swagger docs. I'm moving those, maybe using AI tools to move Confluence docs into a more robust format, right? So there's that transformation layer. But then they're also like, how do I shift my organization to thinking like, how am I not just dumping things in the ether, but moving them? And so that's one of the big things we're working on is agentic tools to say, in the moment when I'm building something, how do I not just lose this, or how do I not just put it in some notepad file that's going to get lost? But how do I get this right? How do I catch you right in the moment when we've just got off a critical meeting? Some decision's been made. You can hope the architecture is going to go make an architecture decision record there, and it gets codified and then forgotten about. But if I can get that right into a chat interface, and that chat interface know exactly what the architecture decision record format is supposed to be. It can put a timestamp in there. It can take quotes out of my meeting. It can capture the key insights, and then that's in a format that can then be extractable. I'm not worried about the humans having to understand data contracts or having to understand RDFs or semantic knowledge graphs. That's already baked into your processes. That's what AI is there to help facilitate that transformation. All right, anyone else? Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you for all our speakers tonight. So this will conclude at least the speaking portion. So you can still stay around and have a couple more beers. Our 2025 Wild AI is over. We do have one obviously in January. I believe the date is the 19th, so hope to see a lot of faces again. Also, if there's any way we can improve Wild AI, feel free to walk up to me or respond to our emails. We're always open to improving the event. And thank you all for coming.